everyone. My name is Chad Valentine. I'd like to take a moment to discuss some modes of training and some benefits of training with you. This is in reference to our HPE 553 class at Jacksonville State. What we've done is I've put together a conditioning project or conditioning training plan for a young lady who's transitioning from her senior year of high school through the summer into her freshman year of college. First off, benefits of training, typically in general health and fitness is usually primarily the main reason people like to train, especially from an aerobic standpoint. Also for reducing injury risk, as well as just better all-over health and fitness in life, physical fitness later on in life. For the purposes of this study, or for this project, I'd like to talk with you about general preparation phases for transitioning an athlete into the college training when they get here in the fall. In this case, it would be preseason very quickly for her. By the time school starts, moving on into September, October, and November. This athlete in particular, female distance runner, Caroline Morris, 17 years old, about 5'9", 125 pounds. We put together some things based on her training history. She began running in the 7th grade, trains primarily aerobic activity only, never had any weight training, no background in the weight room at all. So that's a huge upside. We look, if it's not really a big fallback if we see that, that's actually an upside. We see there's a lot of benefits from the weight room, especially in the fall, that they can benefit from. Her performance history, a little bit here on the slides about it. She has actually competed in more races as she's went from 7th grade on through her high school years. So as she's gotten into her 11th and 12th grade years, she's really starting to PR and mature a little bit better. She's put in a little bit more mileage, things such as that. She has done a little bit of sprint work on a short scale, so she's done some types of short accelerations, but nothing really more than that. No kind of interval training, no high intensity training of really any sort. Not even a whole lot of ab and core workouts. The modes of training that we're going to use with her in transitioning her to her fall workouts when she'll meet with her teammates and begin organized team practice with the coaches. We're going to implement weight training, ab and core circuits, and aerobic training will be used. Interval training, most of the interval training will be fartlek type training, tempo training, as well as plyometric training. In her case, plyometric training won't be as intense as what I would use for jumpers and sprinters. It will be lighter plyometrics, more like foot drills, ankling type stuff. We'll also use high knees and things such as that, high knees and butt kicks and things as we go through the year, or through her summer plan. The weight training is going to be 3 days a week for her. And the aerobic training usually going to be 6 to 8 times a week. She'll run longer runs. Her background, she's only about longest she's ever ran in one session is 7 miles. So typically we'll base the training off of that in the summertime. She has been off for the most part, mainly stayed a little bit active in May and June, or the first part of June. So this is set up to start her in the mid-June and get her to mid-August when we all get together and begin our training. The interval training is typically fartleks, usually in about once a week and in the middle of the week, and embedded in a mileage workout. So within that mileage workout, we'd break up the cardio run by doing maybe six sets of running hard as we can for 2 minutes, and then back to a slow jog, or like 50 to 60% pace for 2 minutes, and then alternating that 6 times for, say, a 4 or 5 mile run. The tempo training is usually based off the pace of her best mile. So every 1 to 2 weeks we will try to get maybe not 1 to 2 weeks, depending on how the training's going. It may be more like 2 to 3 weeks, but typically every so often a mile time trial to see where we're at and try to get her tempo paces down so that she's running faster week to week. The plyometric training and the foot drills typically going to come after a workout, primarily following mileage and follow up mileage with some strides, just some nice 6 or 7 strides across the field, maybe 50, 60 yards or so, and then do our foot drills. The fartleks are done at maximal effort when embedded in the mileage. We want to get that heart rate up and be moving about 100%, if at all possible, since it's in short bursts. Especially for her starting out, she never having really had this background, we would have to really be careful about starting her out too fast. The tempo training, 60 to 75% of our best mile time trial. This is, the duration of this training is going to be dependent really on what it is and on what day it is, which week that we're on. Also, weather is going to dictate a lot as far as our frequency, duration, and intensity. Because if in the heat, depending on what time of day she's getting the training in, she's working during the summer, things like that. So we try to really work around things like that and really communicate with the athletes so that they kind of know not to overdo it, not to risk the chance of heat exhaustion and things such as that. Our progression is typically going to be 2.5 to 5 pounds per week, if possible, in the weight room. As far as weightlifting goes, our long runs, we'll try to increase the mileage 1 to 2 miles total every week, and the shorter runs, the smaller mileage days, will usually be plus or minus 1 or 2 miles difference as far as from one day to the next as the weeks progress. The progression of weight training, typically the way we've got the weights set up is we'll begin with body weight exercises, try to move into TheraBand use after the first 2 weeks. The next 4 weeks, hopefully be able to use TheraBand, really, especially since she has 0 weight training. We want to transition her properly. We will, after 4 weeks, start kind of getting her feet wet, so to speak, with some dumbbell lifts and Olympic lifts. If we're just not quite there yet, and it's possible that we might not be, it is okay to continue to do body weight and TheraBand work, and really get to the point where we can get quality workouts out of the weight room without having to injure ourselves. We're trying to go quality over quantity, especially in the weight room. The tempo training, we're going to try to increase the pace as the training progresses, and again, that's based off of her best mile time trial. We have here a sample week. I pulled week 5 from my written plan. Typically the long runs are on a Sunday. The distance runners are off on Monday, and then we try to get them used to that because it's going to be that way during the fall. They're going to run. In this case, on week 5, she's running 5 miles with heels, pushing the heels on Tuesday. Stretching is occurring after every workout from a static and dynamic standpoint. On Thursday, there's also strides and foot drills after the run. As we get to Friday, we begin our fartlek training, and that doesn't start on the first couple weeks of training, but about 3-4 weeks in, we do start picking up some fartlek runs and alternating 2 miles hard, or 2 minutes hard and 2 minutes easy within the middle of that run. And then Saturday is another mileage run. In conclusion, where we'd like to be is with Caroline in this case is hopefully by the end of the summer training, the idea would be to try to have her mileage to the point to where she can train properly throughout the fall at a total mileage distance of about 10 miles more than she was used to in high school, in her high school career. We would just adjust the modes of training accordingly, and trying to transition her as we get into team training. The frequency and intensity and duration of those workouts would vary. There is room for sliding and moving some things around. Again, weather, her ability to get the workout in if she's working during the summer, things like that, would potentially dictate how she would train during the summer. But the idea is to build her a general condition base for the most part. She does have a base of conditioning, having done cross country and track during her high school career, but adding a lot of new things, we have to really be careful as to not to overtrain her and not make her susceptible to injury risk. Thank you for listening today, and I appreciate it.